The Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association presents Freshman Focus, a look at 2-year-olds in training across the Buckeye State. Freshman Focus is presented by El Dorado Scioto Downs. Racing begins May 11th with the next generation July 1st. By Sugar Valley Farm. Looking for your next quality standard-bred racehorse? Look no further than Sugar Valley Farm in Delaware, Ohio. And by the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center, caring down to a science. Now here's your host, Roger Houston.
Welcome to the 2024 edition of Freshman Focus, a weekly look at the top 2-year-olds in training in the Buckeye State. To kick off the 2024 season, we're going to travel down to the Winter Circle Training Center and visit with Ohio Hall of Famer Virgil Morgan Jr. After these messages, we'll sit down and talk with Virgil.
Racing is back at El Dorado Scioto Downs. Catch the excitement all summer long. Live racing every Tuesday through Saturday nights. First race post time is 5:45. Mark your calendar to see the future stars with a $150,000 Next Generation July 6th. Thrilling harness racing at El Dorado Scioto Downs. One track, 90 racing days, 100% action. Horse players can earn points with the new Caesars Reward Program. El Dorado Scioto Downs. Racing returns May 9th.
Well, Freshman Focus is underway, and we didn't get to talk to him last year, but this year we want to speak with Virgil Morgan Jr. here at Winter Circle Training Center. And Virgil, got a lot of horses. Understand what, 70-some horses this year?
It'll vary depending on what I have going out east. We have a stable at Gateway Farms in New Jersey, so it'll vary between 65 and 80 horses, depending on claimers and if we keep them and for how long we keep them.
Now, how many years you had Winter Circle here?
This will be our 6th year coming up.
Explain your kind of setup that you've got here at Winter Circle.
So it's a training center. We have 112 acres here. We have a half-mile track, sand, limestone jog track. We have a 5/8 mile track that Dan and Greg Coons put in. We currently have 400 stalls. We have a saltwater spa. We have 5 blacksmith shops. We have 20 turnout paddocks. I personally think it's been a great thing for the Ohio horsemen in the industry. Geographically, we're 12 minutes from Scioto Downs, and we're close to Miami Valley, Dayton, Hoosier, Meadows. Geographically, it's a good spot.
You know, nowadays, very few racetracks have a barn area, so you need training centers just like yours here.
Yeah, that was pretty much the thing at Scioto Downs, and the two partners, Bud Rector and Larry Wills, they acquired the land, and in talking to them, we designed this and built this, and hopefully it's horseman friendly, and it can only grow with the horse population that we're having in Ohio with the yearlings going up every year. We're looking forward to the future.
How many 2-year-olds you training this year?
24 currently this year, 24.
Are they all Ohio breds?
Ironically, they all are. They all are. 7 trotters and the rest are pacers.
You mentioned Dane and Parham and his brood mares and odds-on racing. Big operation.
I can't say enough about Dana. He's just passionate about the sport. He loves it, and some of the things that he's doing for the sport with his yearlings being offered for partnership. He has sires now. He's standing Carbine stud in Ohio. He's a half brother to Heston Blue Chip, who is doing very good in Pennsylvania, and a half brother to Sunfire Blue Chip. I think he's currently got like 40 mares, so he's breeding and racing, which is kind of unheard of. It's kind of and it's working out. The horse is racing great, and his broodmares, he's got them spread out throughout the state, and his broodmare band is second to none. Him and Eric Cherry, they've acquired just a foundation of not good brood mares, but great brood mares, and they've acquired that over the years, purchasing these horses at sales and with great pedigree. And yeah, they think we have 6 down by the seaside homebreds next year, maybe 7 homebreds down by the seaside. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I can't say enough about how he's helping the state and how passionate he is about the sport.
The 2-year-olds that you train for him, do you pick the 2-year-olds that you're going to train, or does he say, well, here's the ones I want you to take care of this year?
No, Dana, he does his own thing. He picks his sires and breeds to them. He's been doing this a long time. He has a wealth of knowledge, and I think I get all the Ohio breds, and then he's got some PA, but he's got horses throughout the country. But the Ohio operation, it's pretty much me and him.
The other horses, how do you get them in your stable? Do they come to you for advice and train them?
Oh yeah, I mean, usually the phone starts ringing when the sales books come out, and I've got some great homebreds for Dick McClellan and Joyce McClellan. Larry Wills is a partner with Dick, and it depends. A lot of people unfortunately want the same horse in the book, and that creates a little bit of a problem if they don't want to become partnerships. No, I have a public stable, and it is as such. But I have a great group of owners that, again, not to sound like a broken record, they really love the sport. They're passionate about it, and they're looking for quality.
You have a couple of standouts from last year. You got Grace Hill and Sugar Instead. How are they doing?
They're doing great. Sugar Instead qualified last week. She won her qualifier on a not so great qualifying day in 58. She's come back good. Elected not to race her in the Hackett. I just think it's too early. So we'll look to race her the first week of May at Miami Valley. I'll qualify her once or 2 more times. And Grace Hill, she makes her debut tomorrow, qualifying, weather permitting. She'll qualify 3 times before she races, and she's being pointed towards the Roses of Red.
You mentioned weather permitting. How has the weather been this year for your 2-year-olds as far as getting on schedule and such?
You know, we're ahead of schedule, can't complain. Very few cold days. We had a lot of moisture, but you know, my track, it takes a lot of water, so the weather, no complaints whatsoever. We had very few brutally cold days, so you know, I'm a big fan of training here in Ohio. I'm not a golfer, and I don't own a boat, so I really have no interest in going to Florida to train. So it's been really good here.
You have a certain schedule for your 2-year-olds, qualify in early June, racing in July?
Yeah. Historically, I like to qualify mine the 2nd or 3rd week of June. Give them 2 qualifiers, 2 times behind the gate, maybe 3, and then they're ready to go.
In your 2-year-old stable, do you try to keep horses in a lot of different classes, or do you find yourself all of a sudden training a lot more fillies and colts, or do you have parameters that you use for your 2-year-olds?
I don't. You know, when I look at the sale book, I try to get, my goal was to get something for every class. You know, Ohio, our sire stakes program is second to none. The horses that we've had on the national scene, you know, Pebble Beach, By the Missile, you know, even Sugar Instead. She was in the Breeders' Crown last year. You know, 10 years ago we didn't have that. But our sires down by the seaside, he's, if not the top sire, he's. I think he's just as good as Captain Treacherous myself. That's a matter of opinion, but the records speak for themselves. And answer your question. So I try to get something for each class, trotting fillies, trotting colts, pacing fillies and pacing colts, and try to have a blend of them. You know, when you have, you know, I've been on a string of really good trotters lately, and all of a sudden everybody wants trotters, and you know, a few years before that it was pacing fillies that we had some really good fillies. So the bottom line is I like to just try to have each class filled.
I want to thank Virgil Morgan for sitting down and talking to us this morning on this Freshman Focus. And after this message, we'll return and take a look close up at the 10 two-year-olds he has selected to feature on Freshman Focus.
Looking for your next quality standardbred racehorse? Look no further than Sugar Valley Farm in Delaware, Ohio. Sugar Valley's lineup of stallions includes world champion Down by the Seaside, Lather Up, the fastest horse in harness racing history, Little Brown Jug champion Well Said, and the newest stallions to the Sugar Valley lineup, Adios champion Catch the Fire, and the son of Hambletonian champion Muscle Hill, Marseille. Sugar Valley Farm, the home of champions.
At Ohio State's Galbraith Equine Center, our veterinary champions are here for your champions 24/7, 365 days a year. Our expert team of boarded surgeons, sports medicine and rehabilitation specialists, together with veterinary cardiologists, internal medicine and ophthalmologists, make our hospital your best resource for all sport horse performance issues. The Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center's Galbraith Equine Hospital. Call us today at 614-292-6661.
Welcome back to Freshman Focus with Virgil Morgan Jr. We're in the barn, going to take a look at the 10 that we're featuring today. Virgil, we're going to look at 4 down by the seaside, and this is the first one we're going to take a look at. Beach Party, down by the seaside, out of the mare Betty D.
Yeah, so this is Willow Oak Farm, Richard Arnold. I actually trained the mare, Betty D. And Richard does a great job. He's got, I think, around 20 brood mares at his farm in Tennessee. He just does a great job, him and his staff, of raising the horses. And she's doing really well so far. She's got a great disposition, conformation. She's doing really well.
Do all of the down by seasides have a certain trait?
I don't know that to be true. I think they might come in different shapes and flavors, but the good ones are good. And you just hope you get one of the good ones.
Most of them seem to be pretty good size.
Yeah, I don't think they're definitely not on the small side. I think they're, if anything, medium to big. But again, I think a lot of that depends on the broodmare, her size.
Now this is early April. How much you been with your 2-year-olds?
I've been in like 223, 222 and change with all my pacers, and 229 with the trotters.
Now you said you was a little ahead of schedule. What do you do when you get ahead of schedule?
So I've just been hanging around there. I've been in the 25 to 22 range for 4 to 5 times now. So we're just hanging around there before we push on.
So those extra miles pay big dividends, though, don't they?
It can't hurt. I'm a big believer in foundation and having them more than ready when they're ready to qualify.
This is the Down by the Seaside Beach Party. This is Odds On Odin by Yankee Cruiser out of Odds On Vero Beach. For Mr. Parham, it's pretty easy to name your horses when you start them off with the same odds on.
Yeah, they come up with some unique names. Yeah. I think Dana's son names a lot of them with Dana, and there are definitely some fun names behind the horse. Yeah, this is a Yankee Cruiser homebred out of one of Dana's mares, doing real good. Again, real good conformation, real good disposition. A little ornery, but we'll tolerate that right now as long as he does his work on the track.
Are you able to keep your 2-year-olds usually in groups, or do you have the sets depending on the ability of the horses?
Not yet. I don't break them apart yet. Everybody, we train in sets as like 6, and the trotters we train in sets as 6 and 7. So I keep them all together. We might get some separation later, but as a whole, they're all going together.
You don't have the problem that a lot of people have when they ship to Florida and come up and horses get sick and such, so that's one of the advantages of being here in the wintertime, isn't it?
Yeah, again, I'm not a golfer, maybe someday, and I don't own a boat, so I really like training in Ohio here. I like the elements. I like the horses getting used to the elements, and I don't think we don't have the shipping issue of getting sick and the shipping issue of coming back. Sure, the weather possibly is a little nicer, but we had a great winter here, great winter. So,
any special traits with this one?
Nothing knock on wood, nothing wrong so far. So hopefully we'll just keep pushing on as good as he is.
This is Odds On Odin by Yankee Cruiser. This is Odds On Valhalla, a Yankee Cruiser out of Airborne, Hanover, and got a little breakfast still here. How's he been doing?
He's been doing great so far. Again, it's awful early, but he's homebred out of one of Dana's mares, and all the mares are quality, so expectations are obviously high.
Now, these horses actually were foaled right here in Ohio, probably, weren't they?
Yeah, I think Dana, he's a force right now. His mares in Ohio, he's got them everywhere. I think he's got them at Sugar Valley, Midland Acres, and some other farms. So you're going to see the Odds On name a lot here in Ohio.
Be interesting to interview him one day and get his perspective on the breeding and such. I'm sure he's got
He's got a wealth of knowledge, and again, he just didn't get these mares overnight. He's acquired these through hard work and going to the sales, putting his time in and his money in, and buying quality top bred horses, and hopefully he's going to reap the benefits of that now with all these brood mares he has.
In the training process, is there any difference the way you handle the fillies to the colts?
Not really. I mean, the fillies, you definitely want to finesse. The colts can be a little tough sometimes, but no, as a whole, you just try to teach them manners. That's the main thing right now. And again, it's a lot like going to school. You want your kids to pay attention. You want them to pay attention to the teacher, and they're gonna learn more. And I've always said great horses keep their disposition in the post parade and behind the gate, and that's the kind of things we want to work on now. Walking, turning. We just I don't want to have any orangutans out there that are again, any great horse I've had. Mr. Big, Pet Rock, you couldn't rattle them. They had great disposition, and they were well within themselves.
This is another Odds On Valhalla by Yankee Cruiser. This is Perfect Concept, a 2-year-old colt by Well Said out of Perfect. A colt. When do you decide to leave them be colts or make them geldings?
If they're dangerous, if they're going to hurt themselves or somebody else, I won't be shy about gelding them. But if they're a little ornery, as long as they're doing their work on the track and they're paying attention, I'll leave them alone. But some of them, are on the chopping block. Again, it comes down to manners and just I don't want them to hurt themselves in the stall or hurt anybody else. So we take that stuff into consideration.
You want to keep them cold as long as you can.
Yeah. I mean, the muscle mass and everything. I think it comes into play a little bit, but there's plenty of good geldings. So. Do
the colts or geldings mature in different ways or size-wise? You notice once you geld a horse, does it stop the growth?
Yeah, again, it depends on the individual, but I think you'll see a lot of horses lose a little mass when you geld them. And again, it depends on the individual horse.
Got a name.
Yeah.
Perfect Concept.
Yes.
Is it perfect?
This is another one of Richard Arnold's Willow Oak Farm, and his brood mares are excellent. And I think Steve Jones named that mare, and she was named Perfect for a reason. I think because of her conformation, her look. Well Said's had his fair share of good colts, and hopefully we've got the one that likes to do his work.
You mentioned Well Said, one of the few that won part of the Little Brown Jug from Post 8.
Yeah, that's no easy feat, that's for sure. He was definitely a handy horse.
This is Perfect Concept by Well Said. This is the filly Travel Nurse by Enterprise out of Poster Pinup. Have you had very many Enterprises?
I did. I had one last year. She was a nice filly, hot tea. I think she made a little over 100,000. Took a mark of 57 for Dick McClellan and Joyce McClellan. She is a homebred. This is a homebred travel nurse. She's an enterprise, obviously, and she's doing really well. Dick's brood mares are definitely top quality, and she's a homebred, but doing really well.
You mentioned that you had an enterprise that made right around $100,000. What's probably the break-even point on a young horse? How much is, have you ever looked into that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a numbers game, My job is to make money and win races, and when you win races, you make money. So, yeah, there's a lot of variables in that. What did you give for the horse? Is it a homebred? The break-even point, what did you stake them to? Were they staked to just Ohio? Did you stake them outside of Ohio? So there's a lot of different variables to that, but I think for most barns, 40 to 50,000, is the goal. Anything above that, wishful thinking would be profit.
You mentioned stakes. How hard of a game is that to make them eligible? Which ones you don't go for?
A lot of it depends on the pedigree and what are their stakes? At years past in Ohio, we wouldn't even think about staking to the Breeders' Crown, 10, 15 years ago. But now, that's, again, I named some horses earlier, Pebble Beach, By the Missile. Ohio's arrived. This program is second to none for what we've got going on in the sire stakes and the consolation. Our consolation goes for $100,000. The Buckeye program, our fair program, is second to none. We have a fair final. Souda Downs, Jason Roth, he writes a Buckeye series for Buckeye, Ohio bred horses only, excluded. So, Ohio's arrived. So the staking, you're going to look in, you're going to see better brood mares, you got better sires, so therefore you would stake to the Grand Circuit.
This is the filly Travel Nurse by Enterprise. This is the filly Odds On Sue by Down by the Seaside, out of another Delight. Nice looking filly.
Yeah, we got her at Lexington. Dana bought her at Lexington. I believe she brought 70,000, and we were real happy to get her. I had a brother to her that was a nice horse.
He has a tremendous broodmare operation, but yet he goes out and purchases other horses. Now, do they think it's possible after her career to be a broodmare?
Yeah, that's definitely, any time he's buying one at the sale, 99% of the time, if he buys a mare, the thought process is to breed it afterwards. That's what's going into it, and that's how he's acquired his broodmare band. But yeah, she's wishful thinking is she's going to do good on the track and become a broodmare someday for him.
The fillies, sometimes they get a little temperamental. Have you noticed that with her?
No, I think they all can become temperamental, whether it's a trotter, pacer, filly, or colt. And again, it's my job to make sure they have manners and well behaved on the track. And so far, so good with her. She's a sweetheart. She's done everything we've ever asked of her so far. And again, we were happy to get her at Lexington. And hopefully for Dana, she'll just be an addition to the broodmare band.
The ideal situation when you're breaking and bringing them down, you want the horses to do exactly what you want them to do when you want them to do it. Any problems?
No, and repetition. Again, it's just like kids going to school. First few days are a little crazy probably, but then after that, things start to come into line.
This is the filly Odds On Sue by Down by the Seaside. This is the colt Extra Suds by Lather Up. A lot of white here.
Yeah, so we acquired him at the sale. Henry from across the pond purchased him for $45,000, and he's got some distinct colors in him. He's got a white leg that looks like it's actually poulticed, but it's not, and he's doing really well. He's got really good conformation, travels really well, a little ornery, but he's super on the track, so I couldn't be happier for Henry right now.
I notice a predominance of pacers. Do you have a personal favorite, pacers or trotters?
I like them all. Trotters, Pacers, fillies, colts, as long as they're have talent. No, I love them all.
Especially if they can make money.
Yeah, that's the whole key. Again, we got to win and we got to make money and to keep things going.
What do you think of the lather ups?
So far, the ones that I've had, I really like. They get over the ground good. They got good conformation, stand correct. So, it's still early. I think his first crop obviously was last year, but I had a nice 2-year-old last year, a lather up. He's doing really well this year. So far, so good for lather up.
You mentioned conformation. They got to have conformation to be good.
Yeah, and I think it's the mares are so much better now. It's being any flaws are being bred out of them. So I think when you go to the sales now, 8 out of 10 are standing correct and look a lot better than they did years ago. The mares are throwing and the sires are standing better. So therefore, the whole thing is just a better conformation.
This is the Colt Extra Suds by Lather Up. This is the 2-year-old colt Down to Party by Down by the Seaside out of Marty Party 2. Boy, it seems like I remember that Marty Party 2.
Great family of 2-year-old speed. Just a really good page at the sale. This is one that Larry Wills and myself, we went to Lexington and we wanted to bring this one home. We actually have Larry owns a full sister to Down to Party who is extremely fast. She's yet to race. She's 4. She's had some issues, but she's good now, and that's part of the reason that we went to get him. Just a great addition for Larry.
This one looks like to be just about a normal sized one, not too small, not too big.
Very athletic, great conformation, goes really good. It took him a little while to get going, but he's caught the rest of them, and he's doing really good now, really good.
You said a little problem getting him to go at the beginning. What do you do to speed that up?
Unfortunately, we had to geld him, and when we did, it flipped him right over. And his attitude, he really didn't have his mind on his business when we were on the track. He kind of was thinking of other things, so we took care of that, and he's been really, really good.
I didn't want to embarrass him by calling him a gelding, but since you did.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we had to do that, but it's worked out for the better for him and hopefully everybody else.
So it goes back to that old saying, for you at least, you don't geld them until you feel to their benefit.
They got to prove to me that it needs done. Yeah.
This is the gelding 2-year-old Down to Party by Down by the Seaside. This is Action Kaz, colt by Uncle Peter out of Action Broadway. There's one that you really liked.
I loved her. She was a Dan Patch Award winner. I trained her we broke her, and she made $1.2 million, Dan Patch Award winner. I was thrilled to have the first foal, which was Action Uncle. And unfortunately, he was 3-year colt of the year, but ended up breaking a coffin bone, and we had to retire him, but he was scary fast, and this is a full brother to him.
Since you were so familiar with Action Broadway, any similarities?
Yeah, a lot of characteristics the same. Good gait, good attitude, and we've got some wishful thinking. He could be close to what Action Uncle was.
Not to put you on the spot or something, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Which is more important, the stallion or the mare?
I think it's both. I think when you people say that and ask that, I think when you look at a Breeders' Crown program and show me a horse that's not by a good sire, okay, then look at the Breeders' Crown program and show me a horse that's in the Breeders' Crown, which is I'm going to use the Breeders' Crown as because that's our elite of elite. So show me one that's out of a mare that doesn't have family. You're not going to see it, So you have to have both. I guess if I had to prefer, I would take the mare. But again, look at a Little Brown Jug, a Meadowlands Pace, a Hamiltonian. Look at the sires and look at the mares. There's pedigree on both sides.
I think I must have asked you that question before because I certainly remember that answer.
Yeah, I'm, when I look at a sale book, I only look at certain sires. If they didn't produce or they didn't have a sire stakes champion or a Breeders' Crown champion, I'm really not interested in them, because that inevitably that's why we're going to the sale, to get a champion.
2-year-old colt, Action Kaz by Uncle Peter. This is the filly Chewy by the Sea by Down by the Seaside out of JT's Chewbacca.
She's owned by Dana Parham and Senina Esty of Springhaven Farm. Senina raised her, and she was, of the fillies, one of my picks of the sale. She's just a gorgeous, she's not good looking, she's gorgeous. And so far so good.
Big filly?
She's a big girl, but has a good way of going for as big as she is. Very mature.
Horses can have problems being too big.
Yeah, just like people. Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Maturity, you definitely, when we go to the sale, the idea is to race them as 2-year-olds, and so you might want size, but you definitely want something that's mature and that can. Hopefully, we have a half-mile track here at Northfield that they can get around that.
What size hobbles you got on her?
I don't really measure the hobbles right now. I just go by the eye test, and I would guess hers are probably around 59 right now. But she's got a lot of room to grow, and so far so good. Like I said, Senina does a great job of raising them, and it shows in this filly.
Now, you say maybe right now 59. Do you think the time will come when you'll lengthen the hobbles? Or?
Oh yeah, I let them out, weekly. If I see one, when we're training in sets and I look over, it's just, trial and error. And anybody who knows me, I like to give them as much hobble as you can, for as much length as we can in their stride. So, yeah, that's something that we're tinkering with constantly.
Has she been in that range of 22, 23?
Yeah, all the pacers have been. There's nobody that hasn't. They've all been within 22 and 23, and yep, she's a big girl, but she's doing good.
Now, I notice a lot of trotters have the brakes and then they put on the trotting hobbles. And what about the pacers, though? Is there much of a braking problem with pacers?
There can be. I had two this year that we couldn't get pacing right off the bat, and 2 of them I had to pull their front shoes and put some keg shoes on behind it, flipped them right over. There's all kinds of little tricks. I had one I put 2 sets of hobbles on, and that worked. But once they get it, they get it. And but it just takes, some of them it takes a little longer than others. But I can remember in the past some of my worst gated pacers early on. When I say worse, I'm talking about the first few weeks. Ended up being some of my better pacers at the end of the year. So once they get it, they get it.
Speaking of shoes, you have a problem as well.
I got a little ankle problem going on here, but it'll heal up. Hopefully they won't put me in a claimer, and I can stay afloat.
I think the horses are doing better than Virgil this season. This is the 2-year-old filly, Chewy by the Sea, by Down by the Seaside. With us is Dana Parham, who we've talked about with these horses today. But Dana, it's the first time I ever met you, but you're something in the harness racing right now.
Well, obviously it's a sport that I love, and I want what's best for the sport, and I'm happy that I'm able to participate at this level.
Now, you primarily, it seems to me, go to the sales to buy fillies because you want them as future broodmare possibilities.
That's my primary thought. I may have bought 1 or 2 colts here in Ohio this year, but for the most part, I raise so many colts I don't need to buy other people's.
How many horses does Dana Parham own?
North of 350.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's a lot. Now, can you keep track of 350 horses?
I don't know. I've never tried. I have, I'm lucky enough to have my son and my daughter-in-law that work for me, and they do most of the keeping tracking.
When you're looking at a filly to buy at the sales, what particularly do you, the conformation, do you look at the breeding or what?
Well, I don't want to give away, secrets, but everything, but everything matters to some degree. But then it all boils down to price. But that's everything in our life, is what does it cost? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I love to go to the movies for $6, but at $26, maybe I don't want to see that movie. Mm-hmm. And so when you have to go out and earn money, and the money's yours, cost matters. Mm-hmm. When you don't earn money, and we'll take like a government that goes to war, it's not their money. So if they spend $20 trillion going to war, they don't care. Yeah. They don't look at the cost. It's not their lives. It's not their money.
How long have you been involved in harness racing?
I started in 2001. I started with a $15,000 claimer, and I still have $15,000 claimers. So
it isn't strictly brood mares and things down the road. If it fits the time for your operation, do you want the horse?
Well, I still enjoy the claiming game, so I still want to participate there just for my personal enjoyment. If I could only do one thing in this business, I'd give up all the racing and just be part of the breeding. I enjoy the breeding more than the racing.
Well, Dana, it's been a pleasure to meet you here this morning at the Winter Circle Training Center, and you've got a lot of horses with Virgil Morgan, and we wish you continued success in all facets of harness racing.
Well, you have to be somewhat successful, or one would drop out and just not participate. So, have to have some successes.
Well, that wraps up our initial freshman focus of 2024. I'd like to thank Virgil Morgan and his entire crew for making our job pretty easy today doing this edition. Join us again next week, same time, same location for Freshman Focus.
This has been Freshman Focus, a look at 2-year-olds in training across the Buckeye State. Freshman Focus is presented by Eldorado Scioto Downs. Racing begins May 11th with the next generation July 1st. By Sugar Valley Farm. Looking for your next quality standardbred racehorse? Look no further than Sugar Valley Farm in Delaware, Ohio. And by the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center, caring down to a science. Freshman Focus is a presentation of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association.